Hi there, and welcome to this session all about homeschooling in the early years. My name is Lisa Fletcher, and I am the voice behind the website The Canadian Homeschooler, and I'd like to thank you for joining me today. So then we have a baby. We don't really know what we're doing, so we ask for help and advice because we're trying to figure out exactly what to do with this small person. And as we become a little bit more familiar with parenting and our own child, we kind of fall into a rhythm naturally. We eventually teach this child how to walk, how to talk, how to eat, how to toilet train, all of that wonderful stuff. And then we hit around the age of 3 or 4, we're supposed to be sending our kids off to school, and we start to panic. What do we need to do with our kids? What do we need to teach our preschooler? And this is an email that I get all the time, or a message that I get all the time from parents of 3 and 4-year-olds who suddenly panic because they're thinking about academics, and they're worried. They don't want to send their kids to school, but they're worried about what they should be teaching. So they ask, how do I homeschool my preschooler? So that's the topic we're going to talk about today. There often is this idea that in order to reach academics, we need to have a curriculum. And I would like to change things up a little bit and tell you it's not necessary. We will talk about the 5 keys of running a homeschool preschool years. Okay, the 5 keys are play, read, live, connect, and create. First, we're going to start with play because this is the most important key that we have for our children. Play is absolutely a vital part of our children's preschool experience. In fact, even Mr. Rogers talked about it. He said play is often talked about as if it were a relief from serious learning, but for children, play is serious learning. Play is really the work of childhood. So we as parents, we don't need to sit our children down and expect them to do 8 hours of schoolwork at the age of 3 and 4 or 5 or 6, because play is how children learn. Let me talk about this a little bit. So play teaches some skills. If you think about play, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about it in a minute, but play teaches our kids skills. Think about it. If your child is playing, they usually use social skills. So it teaches them how to behave with other people, how to share, how to take turns, these kinds of things. It also teaches language skills, how to communicate, how to, they make a character where they listen to different people talk. They learn how to listen as well. This is an important set of language skills. Often play uses physical skills as well, both gross motor, which is using big muscles like running and jumping, but it also uses fine motor skills like putting Legos together or grabbing onto pencils. Those little tiny finger movements, those are called fine motor skills, and play often includes both of those. Play can also teach academic skills, and we're going to look at some of the ways that it does that in a minute, but there's lots of other skills that play includes. Now, I know a lot of the times we think of play as kind of pointless because from our perspective, it just looks like imaginary frivolity. But in truth, there's a couple of different ways that children play. The first is actually called unstructured play. This is free. It has no rules. The child creates the scenario and plays in their own scenario. This is a child, when you send them out outside with their friends, they all go off and they play together. They come up with this elaborate story of superheroes and off they go. This is free play or unstructured play. And there's also guided play where an adult sets up a scenario and the child plays within them. So I'll give you an example of that in a minute, but an important thing to know is that both types of play have value for learning. See if I can. So here's an example, some examples of guided play. So you may have seen, if you go to a preschool or a daycare, you'll see that they have centers. They have the dramatic play center. They have the block center. They have the craft corner. They have the different zones, different areas, different centers in the place. For example, this is our grocery store in our basement. This is a dramatic play center. This is a guided play. I have set up this environment for my kids to play in. We could rotate this grocery. We could change it into something else. It could become a classroom. This is still a dramatic center that I've put together. Now, kids like this, and it's usually fun, but it's also guided play because an adult has created it for the child to work under. The second one here, I called it noodle math. This is just an example of one set of activities. Sometimes you can put together activity bags with different games and things, and the kids can pick what they want within those guided activities. And this is just an example. I think I include it again later in some of my topics. I will show it to you a little bit more then. So the question is, how do we provide guided play? Because as adults, it'd be so easy for us to just kind of like, here's the activity, you need to do it this way in order to be able to learn this task. But one of the most important features of guided play is that a child's actions within the play session must be freely chosen. This is the hallmark of play, that children themselves are in charge and can choose what to do at any given moment. Both free and guided play share this feature. In guided play, though, the adults should allow children to maintain control, but also provide subtle guidance that allow them to explore the right aspects of their environment to reach a learning goal. So it's not a bad thing for us to set goals of what we want our child to learn within a play experience, but we don't want to manipulate the experience to make it happen that way. We want to kind of gently guide them along the way. So let me show you for how to do that. One, create an environment of curiosity and natural exploration. This can be just providing tools for them to be able to use, have things down at their natural level. Put things like books and shelves and toys out where they can see them. Let them have access to the things that they want. They're likely to play. Okay, you can also specifically set things up based on a topic or a theme. Okay, the next is to set up expectations in your head of what the goal is, but not for how a child's going to reach that goal. For example, if you want your child to learn about red, you may have a lot of red things, but you're not going to be constantly going, this is red, this is red, this is red. You're going to be providing them with a craft corner with red crayons or red paint, and you're going to have, all red buttons or whatever. Everything's going to have the goal for red, but you're not going to be driving in the red idea. You ask a lot of questions, including exploratory questions like, what do you think would happen if we did this with this block? Or like, what would happen if I put another block on top of this? Do you think that anything would happen? Or when the black tower falls over, why do you think that happened? It gets kids asking questions and thinking about the answers without being forced to learn it. Like, this happened because blah, blah, blah. If you make comments like, oh, this block is green and this one's different, it's blue, it causes them to observe and see and hear the changes without being forced to learn it. It's just a casual conversation. You always want to encourage conversation and answer the questions that kids have for age appropriate level. You want to make sure that you're constantly providing them with stimulating conversation and listening to them. Remember, you're not telling them things, you're listening and encouraging and asking questions for them. You don't have to set up the complicated zones or center. You don't have to provide rotating activity or spend lots of money to encourage learning. So for example, you can set up some books. Books are a great way. If you have a bookshelf and you can provide them with access to books, preschoolers will use books. Listen to music. Give them access to craft supplies. My goodness, if you put a little box with miscellaneous things in it, kids love it. Give them access to age-appropriate toys and games and activities. Put it on their level. Put it where they can reach it. Give them the opportunity to come alongside you in daily living. You don't have to set up your home like a daycare or a preschool in order to give them a learning-rich environment. You just have to create an environment where kids want to learn. Step 2, key number 2 is read. Now, there's a saying that said, children are made readers on the laps of their parents. And it's true. If we role model and give them examples and give them time to read with us, kids will love to read. Now, I don't know whether they will always want to read. As they get older, kids choose their own thing. But if we provide them that opportunity to introduce them to the world of books, they love it. Reading is so much more than a story. Books are so much more than a story. Think about it. If you read the same book with your kid over and over again, and you probably will in the preschool years, they are memorizing words. I bet if you read the same book 20 times, your child could fill in the blanks if you pause. You don't even need to read that many times, actually. Often kids hear the words in the story and are able to fill in the blanks. If you stop the story, they will finish it for you. Picture books are great for observation too. They can look at the pictures and you can talk about all that they see in a story. Books develop vocabulary, concentration skills. It helps them learn how to read and how language works. They can understand rhyme and meter through rhythm. They can develop appreciation for art. They can see how people interact with each other and become empathetic to how other characters how other characters feel and behave. It develops a good relationship with you and a bonding experience. Plus, it really develops listening skills. Even the little ones will sit and pause for a book for a moment. And over time, as you practice it more and more, and as they get more familiar with reading, they will listen for longer. The next thing is live. This seems like a weird thing to say, but to be truthful, modeling your life skills and encourage involvement in everyday life is a wonderful asset to our preschool years and actually a really vital thing for them. There's a reason that our little kids follow us around wanting to do everything we do when we're parents. They want to be involved and underfoot all the time, and they want to do whatever you're doing. So this is a really great way to include them and to teach them without actively sitting down with a workbook. Get them to do it hands-on. Join you into them. For example, my little ones have in the past, we've done things like baking. My little girl, right now she's 4 and she loves baking. So she will say, I love cooking. So she is well familiar with the concepts of using my KitchenAid stander, for example. Cooking and baking and learning to clean up after, these are important life skills that they learn. Get your kids involved in household projects. Get them to learn how to use tools. Get them to help you clean the house and to understand the things behind the house. My kids have helped with lawnmower repair. They've also been out on the golf course with my husband where he was working and picking up golf balls or picking up sticks. We've done lots of trips out with our family just to be part of everyday life, to be able to see how they can be involved. Pass them a broom. They love that. Little kids are fascinated by just the everyday things that we do. Pulling laundry out of the washing machine, for example. They love it, and if they're willing to learn, use the opportunity for them to participate. The next key is connect. Now, connecting is about getting out in your community, seeing what's out there. There's so much available in our communities that we often don't even think about. So go out and visit places in your community. Visit the library. Get books out, meet the librarian, see what classes and programs they run there. Go to the post office, learn how it works. Give your child a chance to see stamps and coins and all the things that they have available at a post office. Go to the grocery store, show them different fruits and vegetables. Get them to recognize letters, numbers, shapes, different things that they know. Go to a farm. Sometimes farms have petting sections. Sometimes they can see how the different animals are fed. Sometimes they can actually go on tours and pick their own fruits and vegetables. Go to the fire station, see the fire trucks, what the fire thing is. They often have programs that they let kids come, get on the trucks, get some fire safety tips. Go to a retirement home, meet some other old people, talk about how some grandparents don't have grandkids that are available or family that can come see them, and give them a chance to learn about other families. Go to the playground. This is a great way to meet other kids and other people in your community, plus also provides them with an opportunity to use their muscles and be active. Go to the museums, go to the art gallery, be a tourist in your own town. Connect with your community. Find activities and events in your community. For example, where we have around us, there are things like powwows and the Maple Syrup Festival and fall festivals and fairs. There are workshops that they can go to. Like, for example, check out Home Depot. They often once a month have a kids workshop where they have pre-made kits that you assemble on the spot, and then you can get a little sticker or a badge to go with it. Check if there's any cultural days near you. There are different classes that you can take through your city or through various centers like the YMCA. Are there any sales going on? A lot of times around Christmas in particular, there are vendor sales that you can go and check out. There's also seasonal activities that you can participate in, like fall fairs, where you can check out like the biggest pumpkin in the community, etc. See if you can find that. Meet up with some other homeschoolers. Go on play dates. Go for field trips. Join a co-op. There's lots of things that you can do with other homeschoolers who also have preschooler kids. Some communities even allow little ones to volunteer with their families, so you can go to the food bank and help sort food. if that's what they are allowed, or you can even just volunteer yourselves, clean up the park or clean up your neighborhood. There's lots of ways to get out and about in the community, meet other people, and see how the community works. Here's some examples of what we've done. We've gone to a reptile zoo. My kids loved seeing snakes and all that kind of stuff. We've also have lots of playgrounds around. We like to do things like explore different playgrounds in the community. Sometimes the local farm in the spring runs a little chicken booth so you can go see what a baby chick is like. These are different things you can do in your community just to get to know it better and to have experiences that you might not have at home. Step 5, create. Picasso once said that every child is an artist. The problem is how to remain an artist once you grow up. So at home, you just want to be able to encourage your kids to get creative. So this could be as much as just sticking some paint out for them to play with. But if you are the kind of parent who freaks out about the idea of having a big mess, here are some ways that you can do it. 1, make a junk box. Just get a box, a big Rubbermaid bin or a medium-sized Rubbermaid bin, toss in toilet paper rolls, any pieces of wrapping paper, some string, some fabric, popsicle sticks, tape, glue, scissors, straws, anything you can think of, a ribbon. Just put it all in there, and then one day send out a plastic tablecloth. Those are my biggest win. Get one of those disposable cheap dollar store tablecloths, set it down, let the kids go to town. It is amazing what kids will make if you just give them a box of miscellaneous supplies. Number 2, use those no mess Crayola markers that only color on the special paper. That way you don't have to worry about the markers coming off the side and coloring on your table or floor or anywhere. You can actually paint with water if you kids are fine just having a paintbrush and water. Take the messy stuff outside, set up an easel or paper or even those disposable tablecloths that I mentioned, put them outside, hang things up on the fence, get all the messy stuff outside, especially in the summer, and then you can hose them off after if you have to. So here's some examples. We do painting flower pots with acrylic with poster paint is fun. They make good presents. In the middle here, you'll see one of my guys. He's actually just he's pressing into tinfoil to make a design. It's not messy at all. You can paint it if you want to, but it's like causing embossing. We made tie-dye, which was a big mess, but it's a lot of fun. And even, creating doesn't have to be art. It can also be things like building sandcastles or getting outside and just making things, building towers out of rocks or whatever. So it's about providing an environment that encourages creativity. So let's talk about something called webbing and some games as well. So webbing, it's basically it's a common thing that is used in preschool communities. So they pick a theme of the day and then all the things in the center relate to that theme. For example, if your topic was apples, you might go out to the apple farm and go apple picking. You might go to the grocery store and look at all the different types of apples and compare how different they are. You might make an apple pie or chase out some applesauce. You might take an apple, cut it in half in 2 different ways so you can see how it's a star one way and how it's got all the seeds in it the other way, and make some stamps with red and green paint. You could read the book 10 Apples on Top by Dr. Seuss, which then ties into math because you are learning numbers to 10. If you use apple-shaped buttons or things that you can get at the dollar store that look like apples, you can use them to count with, which then ties it back into your apple theme as well as your book. You can make applesauce Play-Doh for a sensory experience, and you can do a science project where you cut an apple up and learn about the different parts of an apple, like the skin, the flesh, the seeds, the stem, all those kinds of things. The idea of webbing is the same as what we call in the older years unit studies, basically picking a topic or theme and then working all the other subjects related to that one theme. And in the preschool years, this is a fantastic way to learn because it really helps them formulate concrete ideas about a specific topic. There are lots of great ideas for this online. You can probably find 100 million of them on Pinterest if you needed help coming up with a theme. But for games and for learning in general, if you make it fun, they will learn. So here's some of the ones that we have in our house that we've enjoyed over the years. The Frog Pond fraction game has been through all 5 of my kids, and they still love it. You basically you go around the pond and you keep adding pieces of fractions in it. They don't really think about it learning. All they think about is trying to get the pie done before the frog eats the pizza. That's kind of what we joke about at our house. But it actually is a great way for kids to learn. You can turn everyday things into games too. You don't have to have a formal game. For example, over here on the left, you'll see a long line of bow tie noodles. This was a game we did to see how far exactly 100 noodles would go. It was a lot of fun. Remember that noodle math game that I told you about? Basically, what it was is a child gets a cup of noodles, and then I printed out a set of 1 to 10 card, the numbers 1 to 10, and the goal is to see if you could make 10 like you can make the match the number of noodles to the number on the card. And the kids loved that when they were in the preschool stages. It was a lot of fun to kind of encourage the concept of math and numbers and number concepts. In the middle here, you see the little guy. I collect the milk and bread tabs, and they come in a variety of colors. So we save them over the years, create circles with the different colors, and get them to sort it out. It's early idea of classification. On the right here, you'll see hundreds charts. I don't know why my kids always loved this game, but it was one that was a lot of fun. Basically, you roll a dice and you color in the amount of squares that dice creates. And the goal is to see who can get to 100 the fastest. This was a challenge that my kids loved as preschoolers. It became an everyday game to see who could get to 100. But what they were really learning wasn't about who was winning. It was about numbers. They could now recognize the numbers 1 through 6. They learned how to fill in the spaces. They understood that 100, they could recognize 100, and they could see how long and how much work it did to get there. So that's one example of some games that we did. Sorry, there we go. Also games for science. This is my little guy here, my big one now. But when my little guy was young, he loved science. So we had a science party one year. Let's make it into a game, right? Let's do science experiments together for fun. So this became an activity. Games. The other game that was what I really like doing in this classification concept, you can take just about any topic and make it a game like this, a sorting game. So we've done this with food groups and with animal classifications. I cut out pictures out of magazines or print them offline and then get them to sort the different things into different sections. So for example, all the insects go in one, all the reptiles go in another, all the mammals in another. It becomes a fun game for the kids. They don't even realize that they're learning. They're just having a lot of fun. Letter games, there are so many ways you can use letters to learn. So a fun game that we've tried to do in the past is with letter magnets. What we've done is I challenge them to match a capital letter with a small letter and see if they can get all of the letters of the alphabet sorted out. You can also do things like hop on letters. So you print off the letters or write them on a piece of paper and get the kids to run from place to place by calling out the letters. As the kids get better, you can make it so that they include capitals and lowercase, and then you can start even using the letter sounds. So you can say, run to the letter S, and they will run across the room and jump on the letter S. It's always about making it fun and interactive. Kids learn the best that way. So let's talk about the web and workbooks. Otherwise, why computers and curriculums aren't evil. I want to be clear on something here. You are not ruining your child if they use a screen. There is this societal pressure to make us feel guilty if your child uses a screen. You are not going to ruin your child if they use a screen. As with everything, moderation is key. And if it's going to help them learn and it's going to help you keep your sanity, feel free to use digital learning, okay? There are some great digital resources out there. For example, these are some of the ones that my kids have loved over the years. There's Teacher Monster to Read. There's Reading Eggs, ABC, Starfall. A lot of these work on letters and numbers to help basic early comprehension of language and math. So this app on the side, the Originator, they've actually got quite a few fantastic apps, which my little ones have always liked. For example, the one that you see at the bottom is called Endless Alphabet. It provides kids with a word, and then they have to drag the letters onto the word. And the letters, as you drag them, say their phonetic sounds. So for example, the letter T would be t, 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 as you drag it into place. It's a great way to have letters recognition combined with phonetic recognition. And then when they build the word, it does a fun little animation thing that the kids think is hilarious. So those are one of my favorite apps. They've got word ones, they've got math ones, they've got all kinds of ones. I highly recommend them. The other thing I want to mention is that you are not ruining your child if you use curriculum. You will find, and if you ask about preschool or early years in Facebook groups, that people will potentially jump all over you at the idea of using curriculum. Although you don't need it, and we recommend that you kind of come up with a gentle learning approach instead of applying heavy academics in the early years, you will not ruin your child if you choose to use a curriculum. But there's some guidelines I recommend for this. One, use it as a guideline to help you engage with your child for intentional learning. Don't use it as a way to put pressure on yourself or your child or to make sure you've done everything to the letter, on time, on perfectly. Lower your expectations of your little ones. They do not need to be sitting at a desk for long periods of time. Do not force it as a learning method. Remember, the 5 keys that we talked about are way more important than following the official curriculum that you have. It's okay to use it, but it's not okay to force every minute of a learning experience, or you will end up teaching your child to hate the concept of school. Don't spend a lot of money in the early years because you don't want to waste the money, because there's a good chance that your child will not, it may not work out for your child. You don't know a lot about their learning style necessarily yet. Just don't spend a lot of money. Do something quick and easy. Here are some ideas. One, you can just buy cheap books at the dollar store or at Walmart. You can actually look on Pinterest for preschool unit activities. There are tons of them. There's a website called letteroftheweek.com. They come up with activities based on a letter of the week for each week. There's a program called 5 in a Row and a Canadian edition that's similar called Come Sit By Me, where they have a picture book theme of the week, and then you do activities for all of the other things like math and science and things like that, based on the story of the week. It's pretty cute. There's also one called Easy Peasy Homeschool. They've got a couple of getting ready things. Again, this one's more structured, and I recommend that you don't force it too hard, but it is a good way to help you have some kind of starting guidelines. There are a lot of homeschool curriculum providers that do provide pre-K and K level programs. Again, evaluate what they're doing and whether you feel like you can find them flexible enough, or if you would feel them stressful and you're not going to be able to just kind of let your child learn naturally through them. Just be careful. I'm not saying they're bad and you're not going to ruin your child. Just remember to make it fun and easy. Remember the Magic School Bus and Miss Frizzle's advice? Take chances, get messy, make mistakes? Guess what? She's right. Especially in the early years when kids are learning and adapting. Get their hands on. Let them learn that mistakes are okay. Let them try again. Let them take some chances and just discover the world for themselves. This is preschool. This is the early years, kindergarten, preschool, grade 1. These ones are the years that our kids still can be young. Let them be children. Let them explore. Let them try for themselves. It's fine for kids not to sit down and know how to read by the time they are 7. They will learn. They will absolutely learn. Okay? Some final thoughts, and probably the one that I think is the most important is, this is not a race. It's very easy for us to look at our children and think, oh no, they haven't learned how to read yet. Oh no, they don't know all their letters of the alphabet. Oh no, by this stage, everyone else's kids know X, Y, and Z. Your child is not in a race. Their education is not a race. This is an individual journey, and it's something that your child needs to do at their own pace, at their own time, in a safe and caring environment. You will find that the minute they want to learn how to read, they will start picking things up. Sometimes they get things way ahead of what you expect. Not everything that your child will learn will be on par with what the public school system is learning or what your cousin's 3rd child is up to. Just enjoy the journey. This is a hiking trail, not a race. Thanks so much for joining me. I hope that I've given you some tips on how to teach your early years and your preschool years with your little ones. And I hope that you feel more confident in your journey. And remember that this is all about having fun, enjoying childhood, and encouraging the exploration of play. Have a great day.